Would you like to learn how to take your power back and start to get your life in order? Would you like to learn how to use the concept of the medicine wheel to help take your power back? Then you're going to want to listen to today's episode. Welcome to Mystical Journeys with Jase. I wanted to open this episode and just state there's going to be a lot of topics in the future. A lot of very open minded topics about past lives and reality and soulmates and a whole bunch of other things. I want to make sure everybody understands that first we have to establish some groundwork. It's all great to be able to start to do all the other things, but really helps a lot with getting some of the basic groundwork done. The groundwork that we need to establish is some of the very normal things that you could set up a basic environment for your own growth and evolution. So let's start with the concept of the medicine wheel. In Native American lore, as well as the lore of many places around the world, there's a concept of the medicine wheel. You can find a lot of information online about it. I'll get into the actual medicine wheels later on. I'm going to just use the concept. And that part that I'm going to use is each of the different quadrants. They can pertain to something different. The first quadrant can be physical, the second quadrant can be emotional, third quadrant there can be mental, and the fourth quadrant there can be spiritual. When you're leading your life, one of the most important things you can do is you need to keep things in balance. So let's just say you have a relationship, okay? You need to keep all four of those in balance. So if the two of you guys are getting along and you guys are holding hands and being physical with each other and things like that, that's a great thing to do. If you're in a relationship and you're very anti-touch, and especially when one partner really wants to be touch oriented and the other person isn't, you're going to have some imbalance. So starting with that part, you want to focus on getting the physical part of your relationship back in balance. Okay, so let's talk some more about the physical side of things. Think about eating. If you eat a lot of unhealthy food versus healthy food, you're going to put yourself out of balance. And you're definitely going to put your body out of balance as well. So when you eat healthy foods, like lots of people recommend, like fruits and vegetables, lean meats, and so on, whatever you want for your diet, whatever it wishes to be, you're going to be putting yourself into physical balance. When you put yourself into physical balance, you're going to automatically have a lot more energy. Physical balance can also be the type of clothing you wear. Is it comfortable? Does it fit okay? Do you feel good wearing it? Does it work for you? I mean, if you're going to wear some really high type shoes, you're going to possibly hurt your ankles, especially if you're going for a walk. So definitely make sure you're wearing the clothing you're feeling comfortable with. I tend to wear a lot of cotton. I just like the way it feels on my skin. It tends to work for me. There's a lot of times when I wear something that's polyester and it crackles. It gets me very hot very quickly. And especially things like that. When it comes to clothing, I like things that are comfortable and good fitting. Helps to keep me feeling comfortable during the day, and it's no longer a distraction. Okay, so let's talk about your physical environment around you. So, are you living in a place that's filled with a mess? Are you living in a place that works for you? Is everything in your kitchen within easy reach? Especially for the number of the times you're going to use it. If you have the pots and pans sitting in another room, that's also taking away some of your power. You have to walk into the other room. You have to go get them. You have to bring them over. Then, when you're finished, you've got to clean them. Then you got to walk all the way over and put them away in the other room. Now, think about that just for a second. Here, what you're doing is you're giving away some of your time for something that can be made a lot easier with just a simple adjustment. Wouldn't that be a lot easier? All right, so let's talk a little bit about the emotional side of things. Emotions are a part of us. I'm definitely not an expert that's going to be able to talk about emotions, but what I can talk about is how emotions can affect you and what they can do to you. People talk a lot about stress. One thing I've learned about stress is that stress comes from expectation. When you're setting your expectation for something to be a certain way, Even if it's something you're trying to control or something that's completely out of your control, that's expectation. It's the beginning of how stress is going to form. If you have a lot of stress in your life, what's going to end up happening? It's going to pull you off center. It's going to get you more distracted. You may even get emotionally withdrawn from people. Now, think about that. Those are the things that are pushing you out of balance. Now, let's take a look at the other side of it. If you remember an earlier episode, I talked about the three forces: the positive, the negative, the neutral. I wanted to make sure that if you had that foundation, it's going to help you a lot because I get into each concept. I'll keep coming back to the positive, the negative, and the neutral to help you understand things a little bit better. Each thing you learn, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, is going to help you overall with your life and even your spirituality. Anyhow, let's get back to the emotional part of the medicine wheel concept. If you're too positive with your emotions, that can also mean that you're very delusional. Like if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to manifest $1 billion, and you focus on that too much, I'm not going to disagree that energy can be moved. But what if you're focusing on something that's so far out of your reach, you may not get it? It could backfire on you. It could cause you to think, wow, I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to get to that. Do you see what I mean? Those are two things that are out of balance when they started by being a little too positive. Okay, now let's look at the negative side of emotions. If you have a person who wronged you in some way and you stayed upset over it, maybe even for years, you had a parent who harmed you, friends who hurt you, situations that were really out of your control that have really bothered you. Now think about that. For maybe 20 years, you've been emotionally hard on yourself, for over those things. Your body's going to react to that. When you focus on those really hard emotions and they're tied to an event, your body's going to react to it. And that's going to put you out of balance because then not only are you dealing with a negative emotion and everything that's associated with it, you're also dealing with the physical effects that come from it. Think about this for a second. How many times have you heard people say, that person gives me a stomach ache, or when he or she walks into the room, my head just starts pounding? Think about that. Those emotions are being reflected in the body. In some systems, they believe parts of the body hold certain emotions. And by holding on to that energy in the body, it can cause something called dis-ease. Now, I want you to think about the flip side of this because it's just as important. When you're emotionally in balance, when you're not carrying around all that extra weight, your body feels it too. People who work on releasing old emotional baggage often feel a lot better. They report to other people, yes, I feel physically lighter, more energized. Like something that they didn't even know was heavy finally was put down. That's the body responding to emotional balance the same way it responds to emotional imbalance. So the work you do on the emotional side of the medicine wheel is never just emotional work. It always shows up somewhere in the body as well. The mental quadrant. All right, let's get on to the mental side of things. We're going to use this part with just the thinking aspect today. Where are your thoughts going? Are you thinking something over and over and over again without doing anything about it? Think about that for a second. If you're thinking so much, but you really don't do anything with it, that's like being in a mental rocking chair. You go back and forth a whole bunch of times, you burn a lot of energy, but really you don't get anywhere. There are lots of good systems out there to help you train your thinking. And I'm probably going to do a whole podcast on just adjusting your thinking, but we'll leave that one for the future. One of the things I've noticed from being around the world and meeting people from different cultures is that some cultures have very different ways of dealing with things. Some cultures, when they're finished with work, they can go right outside with the same boss who's been on their case all day, and they can go and sing and have dinner together and laugh and have a great time. And then tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, that boss goes back to being demanding and it goes on for the next 8 to 9 hours. Then, right after that, they can let it go and keep on having fun, laughter, and good times. I've always thought that was really interesting because it shows that how you're thinking can actually switch in a matter of minutes. And that's something very important to realize. A lot of people use a concept called where your thinking goes, your body follows. Tell you what, I'm going to give you a little mini exercise. I want you to pretend right now that you're biting into a lemon. Yes, I really do want you to try this. Think about that lemon. Think about it on your teeth, that you're biting into it. It's getting onto your gums, maybe a little bit under your tongue. Yeah, it's pretty sour, all right. Think about holding that lemon in your mouth for just a minute. Okay. Just take a minute and think about that. All right. Are you done? I've got a really simple question for you. Is your mouth watering right now? I've noticed that about 80% of the people I've asked that question to, they answer, yeah, I just noticed that. My mouth is watering. And that's the point. You were just thinking of a lemon and your body reacted to just the thought of it being in your mouth. It wasn't even there. That thinking can help your body a lot. It can help you feel healthier and happier. It can help you wake up in the morning and be glad to get out of bed. Yeah, maybe your feet are a little sore, but if you're thinking about looking forward to a happy day, they tend not to hurt as much. Your thinking shapes a lot of what's going to happen to you throughout the day. I think you get the point. And just to tie it back to the medicine wheel, when the mental quadrant is out of balance, it affects everything else. It affects how you feel physically, it affects your emotions, and it absolutely affects your spiritual connection. So, getting your thinking in order isn't just a productivity tip, it's actually a form of self care that touches all four of the quadrants. The spiritual quadrant. Okay, so let's go into the spiritual side of things. The spiritual side is your connection to your beliefs or whatever religious system you might be a part of. And it's also to connect to the people in a way that goes beyond just a simple physical connection. You know, those times when you're with somebody and you're just being in their presence and you feel more peace, you feel happier, you feel lighter. That's what we're talking about. On the spiritual side of things, because we're all learning and growing here, the most important thing right now is to make sure you're open to your experiences, open to other people, open to situations. I'm going to get into a lot of these things in the future episodes, but for now, just know that these things can happen. And right now, things have already started happening for you. That's fantastic. Okay. We're going to have some fun talking about all this in the future. I also wanted to say that the spiritual side of the medicine wheel doesn't have to mean anything religious if that's not your thing. It can simply be those moments where you feel connected to something bigger than yourself. It could be nature, it could be music, it could be a conversation with somebody that just leaves you feeling like, wow, that was something special. Those are all spiritual experiences. And when you're in balance spiritually, there's a kind of peace that shows up in the other three quadrants as well. It's like everything works just a little better. So don't overlook that one. Taking your power back. All right. So let's start talking about taking your power back and how we're going to use the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual to do it. The first concept I want you to understand is that a big part of taking your power back is first learning how you have given it away. Yes, I'm talking to you. Have you ever been in a situation where you ended up doing something more for somebody else than you really wanted to do? How many times have you done something that you didn't want? Even something as simple as a little task you did for them and you didn't even get a thank you. Like, oh my goodness. How many times did you set an expectation for a person or a situation? You helped them and did everything for them, and they didn't even reciprocate. Those are all examples of where you've given your power away. So let's start talking about taking it back and what we're going to get into a couple of situations for each one. I want you to really think about your own life as we go through these because I'm going to be giving examples, but the real work is going to come from you. You've got to be recognizing your own version of these situations. Everybody's a little bit different, but I think you're going to find the patterns pretty similar across the board. Taking back your physical power. Let's start with some of your eating habits. Yes, your eating habits can affect your spirituality too. So this matters. If you don't have an aversion to good food, then go buy some. You make excuses not to buy good food? Yes, French fries and cheeseburgers taste so much better. I get it. But at least from what I've had to learn, we eat to live, not live to eat. If you need some motivation to take your power back on the physical side, find a loved one who cares about you. I think about my family members and friends, and I think about people who've pushed me hard to do this podcast. And I say to myself, you know what? I'm going to make a little better choice on that food today. And that food choice is going to give me a little bit more power back to my physical self. Okay, let's take a look at giving your power away through your physical environment. Say you go to work when the situation isn't working for you. You're in a cramped office space with a pile of boxes behind you, but you just leave them there. You never take a moment to say, hey, is there any way we can move these boxes somewhere else? You never act upon it. Think about that. You're giving away your power by not acting on fixing your physical environment. Or even something simple. Let's say you've got a roommate who keeps leaving the pots and pans in the sink and you keep cleaning them over and over again. You're giving away your energy to fix the situation. Don't get me wrong. If you both agree to an arrangement where they cook and you clean, that could work fine. That's keeping the energy in balance. But if it's bothering you, take a moment, talk to them. Say, hey, I'm pretty tired on Thursday nights because I work until 11. Could you please do the dishes that one night? You're using your voice to reclaim some of your power, and that's a good thing. I think you're starting to get some ideas on how to take your power back on the physical side. So let's get on to the emotional side. Taking back your emotional power. I have somebody at work I have to deal with who can be pretty difficult and really, really toxic. The more I let this person be toxic around me, the more harm it creates for me. I end up being a little more grumpy by the end of the day, a little more aggressive, a little more angry. Why? Because I'm giving up more and more of my time and energy just by being around this person and not doing anything about it. So let's talk about a way to take your power back in that kind of a situation. First thing, throw away the fear. I mean, think about it. Has fear ever really helped you in situations like that? Unless you're running from a bear, fear usually ends up being a hindrance more than a help. So I talked to this person and I said, look, there's some of the things I need. When you act this way during the day, I have to hear it all day long and it affects me. And they said, oh my gosh, I never really knew that. In any event, I think you get the point. They started to shift their behavior a little bit. Did I get it exactly the way that I wanted? No, but I was able to take some of my power back, and that's what matters. Now, let's talk about your own emotions. If you're going through something really hard, go through it. If you've lost a loved one, there are grief counselors whose most common piece of advice is this: you have to keep grieving until you're done. Cry it out, let it out. Do what you have to do to let those emotions run. When my mother passed, every day I was pretty upset. For a really long time, the first thought on my mind was her when I woke up in the morning. And that first thought was of my mother. I cried a lot. I was really upset. Sometimes it was hard even just to get going for work. But I let my emotions go. I let myself be upset. I let the memories come. I let the feelings flow. And it went on like that for a really long time. Let me just say this: for a really long time, my mother was the first thing on my mind every single morning until one day she was the second thing on my mind. Think about that for a little bit. Taking back your mental power. All right, let's get to the mental side of things. Maybe you've got a really mentally taxing job or a mentally taxing life. You're having to overthink everything. And all that thinking, it's just wearing on you. How can you make things a little easier on yourself? You've got 100 things to do in a day, and you tell yourself, I don't have enough time to write them down. I don't have enough of this. I don't have enough of that. You give yourself 100 excuses. How about taking a little bit of time after work just to organize your thinking? Here's what I do: I use a system where I prioritize everything I need to do. I write it all down, I rank it by priority, and I check it off when it gets done. Guess what thinking I don't have to do during the day? Yes, thinking about all the things I have to do. I can just focus on each task because it has a priority. As I get through things during the day, by the end of the day, all the top priority things are done. The lower priority things, if they need to wait, oh well, they wait till the following day. Guess what? My stress level is about half of what it used to be. Taking back your spiritual power. All right, let's talk about spiritual empowerment and where you've given that power away. Think about all the times somebody told you that you were wrong about what you believed. How many times did I argue with my grandparents about the religion they wanted us to be brought up in? But guess what happened? When I stood up for my own open minded nature, it started getting me to see the things I never expected. I learned things that were astronomical. I got to sit at the feet of shamans who were better than a century old. I got to meet some very wise people and learn so many very different things. If I had succumbed to all the times people told me, no, you're wrong, that's dumb, don't do that, oh my gosh, you're going to end up in a bad place after you die. If I had succumbed to all of that, I definitely wouldn't have found the thousands of things that I've learned. And I definitely wouldn't be able to share all these things with you. What I want you to do is keep open. We're going to get into some really interesting episodes, especially the one about God speak. It's about how the universe basically talks to you every day. Homework and closing. All right. I think that's enough for today. Here's what I'd like you to do. Take some time to list out some of the places where you've given your power away. List out where you've been giving it away physically. List out where you've been giving it away emotionally. List out where you've been giving it away on the mental side of things, and especially list it out when you're giving it away on the spiritual side. Then take a look at that list. The next thing I'd like you to do is use the power of neutrality. Do you remember me talking about that in another episode? Try to neutralize how much you've been giving away that power. Like I mentioned before, when a person is driving you crazy on the phone for 2 hours, just give them 10 minutes. Use the power of neutral and start to minimize all those places where you've been giving your power away. And if you can't minimize it, then stop giving it away completely on the spot. Think about that for a second. Something that doesn't work for you, something that hurts you, something that causes imbalance in your life. You can make a decision not to have it in your life anymore, or at least not in the same capacity. I think that's pretty powerful. And here's the thing. You don't have to fix everything on the list at once. Just pick one thing. One physical thing, emotional thing, mental thing, or spiritual thing. Start there. Because when you start reclaiming your power, even in one area, it creates momentum. It starts to affect the other areas too. That's how the medicine wheel works. Everything is connected. Pull one part back into balance, and you start to feel the ripple effect across the other quadrants. That's when things really start to shift. All right, that's a pretty good list of homework for tonight. So let's end the show here. We still have a lot of things to cover in the next bunch of episodes. Thank you for joining. Please keep curious, keep tuning in. If you can, please pass on the show to someone else who could use it. Feel free to listen as many times as you need to. I'm here to help. Until next time, keep your awareness up and always keep an open mind while you're on this journey. Thank you.